Hi everyone, it's Dave here for Clark Railworks today, and we've got a brand new double O gauge product announcement for you. This follows on from our award-winning models that have already come out in O gauge, and of course our forthcoming War Department Austerity and Quad Arts. This one though is for you freight fans. Our brand new model that we're announcing today is the double O gauge 25-ton Lowmac wagon. Oh yeah, that's the point. These are in stock right now. So, we're going to give you the lowdown on the Lowmacs. See what I did there? For those who don't know the prototype too well and want to learn more about these really unique vehicles. And the design goes back quite far actually, I mean almost back to the start of the railways themselves. You needed the lower profile of wagon to be able to get anything tall, wide, bulky out onto the railways there. The Lowmacs that we're producing are the ultimate in Lowmacs. These are pretty much the final design. Built and designed by the London North Eastern Railway, introduced in 1944, so they played their part in the Allied war efforts, transporting all sorts of various different machinery down to the south coast. 60 of them built initially, some heading over to the LMS and most used by the LNER. They're pretty much an even half-half split, and they were built to the LNER's diagram 173. As you can see by the design right in front of me here, they were ideal for transporting basically anything that was quite bulky, quite out of size, because the low well in the wagon there was really close down to the railhead, so you had the maximum area of gauge on the wagon to transport things that normal wagons might not. Another 50 were built to the exact same design for the London North Eastern Railway as soon as the war ended in 1945 and 1946. And by the time nationalisation rolled around a few years later, British Rail thought, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they built to exactly the same design, the diagram D242 as it became known. Another 38 appeared in 1950 for British Rail. And both variations there are covered by the model that we've produced. So let's just take a check there now. We're heading into the early 1950s and we've got, let me work it out, 148 of these wagons out and about on the railways. They really started to spread the wings away from the LNER network, away from the LMS areas too. All across British Railways, you could find them being used in engineers' yards, you could find them being used on revenue earning freight, maybe one or two in a mixed goods rake there as well. And there's so many uses for these because they were pretty individual and they pretty much led their lives in the way they'd started them. They were still used for transporting pretty much anything that you couldn't get onto a normal wagon. Farm machinery, oversized different loads. The best way to think is to use your imagination because there's so many pictures out there of what's on Lowmacs. If it doesn't fit on a normal wagon in your fleet, that's why you have a Lowmac. Pop it on there instead. It's a bit of a shame actually that these wagons can be overlooked by a lot of people. They come across as a little unglamorous, but there's so many different uses, even down to the fact that some of them were tried as container flats for a period, and it wasn't all about making money with them. They'd even be used to transport injured wagons on the top of them to the works, boiler parts on there too, and that's what gave them such a long life in service. Just because there's bauxite versions there doesn't mean they stopped with steam. Right through to the early 2000s, they were still heavily used on engineers' workings, so there's a real variety of colours. If you like your different shades, if you like your different liveries, check out later on in the video because we'll cover those too. But there's some real variety there for a wagon that's almost 70, 80 years of life now, and it's still continuing on in preservation as well. Okay, let's actually take a look at the models in more detail then, because it's really worth looking at. As ever, as is the Clark Railworks way, we've made sure to make a model of the highest quality, but that can be used on your layout, whether you're a starting modeler just getting into the hobby, or you've already got a fine scale full layout on the go too. So the model itself is mostly die-cast. That comes right down to the framework and everything there. The only plastic parts you'll find on these are some of the end detailing and the actual planking there. The full frame of the model is die-cast, so that really adds to the weight of these as well. And with that low centre of gravity, you'll find no issues with having these running on your layout there. So there's a lot of separately fitted detailed parts that we can see here and now. You've got all your underframe detailing down, your brake rigging coming through. Coming to the ends of the wagons, you've also got the separately fitted sprung buffers. They are sprung metal buffers. You've also got the brake pipe work on the end of the buffer beams there too. One nice little bonus that we've managed to squeeze into the design is the lifting rings. Now, these will be used to secure the different loads to the wagon in real life. Just to point out, these actually aren't moulded, they're completely separate etched brass fittings and they are posable. So if you wanted to add a wagon load to this vehicle, you could put that there, replicate those tying down ropes and have them posed in the right places too. So a little bit of a customization option for you there. We aren't also forgetting the fine scale modelers as well, whether you're an EM or a P4 modeler. The models come with a full detail bag. But in there, if you're going fine scale wheels, we do include a separate set of brake shoes already set to EM gauge. So once you've put your wheels in there, your replacement wheels, you can put those brake shoes on and your model will be ready to go. But 00 modelers, we're not leaving you out in the detail bag as well. There are optional replacement vacuum cylinders which fit just where the NEM couplings are. If you put in sprung couplings or your own type of couplings onto there, you can have that fully detailed vacuum cylinder replacing the couplings. They are sprung as well and easy to remove and take out. But for those of you who use the NEM couplings, they're matched height to all the other rolling stock that's out there too. So a well-weighted wagon that's going to be a great runner, but also no compromise to the detail there to make sure it looks the part in a rake of wagons too. Let's dig down into some of the differences in the models, and even though they were only built over a 6-year period, various different modifications throughout the lives changed a couple of things on the vehicles and we've incorporated them into our models as well. So if you look at the axle bearings here, there's 2 different options, the original oil style or the later rollerball that you can see. Heading over to the buffers, you have the self-contained style of buffers and the oleo type 2. Just to mention again, these are fully sprung metal buffers. And then looking at the brake equipment, later in life, these wagons, some of them did get the air brakes. And again, the options on our wagons will have vac or dual brakes. You don't have to worry about making these changes yourself though. The wagons will come with the appropriate detail differences for the particular vehicle, so they'll be ready to go and put straight on your layout. So you may be thinking, that's great Dave, the model looks good, but I'm not sure which one's for me. And that's what we're here to cover now, because the liveries we produced cover the whole life of the Lowmacs from their introduction in 1944 right up to the current day. So let's take a bit of a look at those in some more detail. Right, let's get started because we've got 13 different models to look at in 8 distinct liveries here. So let's start at the start. This is the LNER Red Oxide as the vehicles were first introduced, as you can probably guess, by the London North Eastern Railway. So this is for you Big 4 modelers heading through the 1940s there, but as we mentioned earlier, they did get around across the network, so great for those of you who are modelling the wartime period too. Not to forget the other company who had these, we're heading over to the LMS. This is a grey example as in preservation, but again, these did get used across the network there up until the nationalisation in 1948. Speaking of nationalisation, we're on to the British Railways colours now, and anyone who knows anything about BR wagons will know that bauxite is king. Therefore, there's no less than 4 for you to choose from. 2 of these are in the pre-tops livery, so covering those of you who modelled the 1950s and 60s. So BR black steam engines, BR green diesels, this is the one for you. Let's look at the models that suit you BR blue diesel modelers though. These are the post-tops versions. So 1973 onwards, the bauxite livery was still around, but there's a couple of variations in the markings. And this is when the wagons were heading over more towards engineering duties and internal use rather than revenue earning traffic. But this is where they start to get a few different liveries. Heading over to the olive green there, the departmental olive green. Again, one you may already have on some of the engineers stock on your layout, but this is an ideal companion for those. There's 2 different versions of that coming through. And then last but not least, there's 4 one-off liveries we are producing. These are the engineers grey and the engineers yellow as carried by 1 or 2 of the wagons in the 1980s. Again, all fully marked up with the correct running numbers and details for the period. Something a little bit more jazzy is this yellow and red scheme. This is the SatLink colours used by the Western region of the Signal and Telegraph Department in the 1980s and 1990s. Stands out a little bit in an engineering rake compared to the next livery, which is the grey and yellow of the civil engineers team, otherwise known as Dutch. One or two of these wagons around in this final livery right through until the early 2000s, and one even managed to escape to the Isle of Wight. It was one of the few, if not the only, Lowmac to head to a different island other than the mainland of Great Britain, of course. So if you won't want to have travelled overseas, this is the one for you. But if you're still not too sure, if you don't know quite which one to go for and you want to make the best choice, give us a call, drop us an email, contact us on our socials. We're more than happy to talk Lowmacs. We're more than happy to talk all model railways. But if one has really taken your fancy, maybe it's the yellow version here or the original bauxite that you can see, let us know in the comments because we really want to know which ones of these are shining to you too. So it's great to finally show off these wagons. We're really proud of them and they have been in development for quite some time. So getting them onto a video is something I've really been looking forward to do. Don't forget again that they are in stock right now over on Clark Railworks. They've got an RRP of £40 each, and that's the same for all the different liveries there too. If you want to check out even more details on these, again, follow that link there, head over to Clark Railworks because there's lots of close-up photos. There's even more information when it comes down to the eras, the running numbers, the specifics on there. So if I've not covered it here, head over there and that'll answer a lot of questions. But if you want to see them in the flesh for yourselves, do come and see us at the various shows we do. We've got a full list on our website of where we'll be heading to next. We've always got our friendly team there as well. Sometimes even Albert might make an appearance. And we've got the models on show. You're more than welcome to look at them, get up close and personal, and make sure you see every single bit of detail on there before you pick one up. But of course, we do send them out all around the world if you want to order online or over the phone on our website. So hope you've enjoyed this exciting update. Hope I've not snuck too many jokes in there for you on this one. Please do comment below. Let us know what you think about the models. Let us know what you think about everything else we're up to over on Clark Railworks. Don't forget as well to like and subscribe to keep in touch with the latest news. And I'll see you again next time. Cheers.